There it was. Okay. Welcome back to Going Big Time with Mike P and Steve. Steve, how are we doing today? Excellent. Good. Okay. Cool. So today we're going to talk about how to hit the drum. Okay? Seems really simple, right? But it is. But we're going to talk about all the ways we can do it, right? When I was first starting to take lessons, I always hit the center of the drum, right? That's the obvious thing to do. And this is mostly talking about backbeat because that's most of the time that's what we're doing, right? That's probably 90% of the stuff we're playing. It's just right? Just that. So what's really important is what sound we get out of the drum, right? Again, seems stupid. It's not stupid. Quit saying that, okay? This is important stuff. So, you know, I think this depends a lot on the style of what you're playing, style of music you're playing, but there's quite a few ways we can hit it, right? What you saw in the beginning, which is my default, is hitting the rim and the center of the drum at the same time, right? I kind of came into this way of hitting later, because like I said, I used to hit purely in the middle of the drum, right? Because again, that's what's obvious. But when I started taking lessons with different teachers and stuff, and they just kind of sold me on how when you're hitting the drum, the snare drum specifically, you want consistency, right? As drummers, that's a very important thing for not just the listener, but also other musicians you're playing with, is to have a consistency about your sound, right? And when you do hit the rim and the center of the drum at the same time, it's just inherently going to be more powerful. It's going to be, yeah, very much the same sound every time, because when you're hitting just the center of the snare drum, there's a chance that, you know, you're not always going to be right in the middle. Hit a little higher, middle, a little lower, sides, right? So when we commit to that rim shot, it's going to be pretty much the same every single time. So that's why I like to do it. It does destroy the waist of your stick, which is, you know, it's all part of the game. Something we got to deal with, but it's really worked for me. So yeah, that's a really important one, is just getting that rim shot, which also takes practice, because if you're not used to doing it, it takes a while to get that accuracy and consistency down. So those are like the first two ways that we can hit the snare drum, right? Another way that's kind of cool that I learned actually from, or picked up from Brian Brain Mantia. He had like his funk drumming video, and I really like the sound you can get out of, it's a rim shot, but you're hitting the rim and then like early on in the drum, not the middle, right? You can see by this Steve 2.0 over here, right? That's a regular rim shot, and then we can get this kind of like higher pitch, kind of funkier sound, right? So when we're doing a groove, instead of go, something like that, right? We get this like higher pitched kind of solid hit, but yeah, it's, you know, it's got like less to it because there's less of the body of the drum working at that point, or resonating. So, you know, but it's another sound. It's a cool little different sound we can get out of it. And of course, we have, well, the cross stick, but even before that, notice in the beginning, right, I was playing with the butt of the stick, right? Which is another thing that I kind of picked up on from more Brain, right? Just like listening to Brain, whatever. So So yeah, so hitting the middle of the drum rather than with the tip of your stick, you get a fatter tone. So it's a subtle difference, but it's definitely a difference, right? So we got this versus this. There's like a little fatness to it there, right? So again, it just depends on what you're going for. What sound are you looking for, right? It's either the fat, a little thinner, much thinner but higher, and then the rim shot, right? And going back to the rim shot, we also want to be able to do that with both hands, right? That's an important thing. Right, we want to be able to do all that stuff. Last thing though, right, is the cross stick, which I have mentioned in a previous video, and I wasn't very specific about it. It was kind of just to get through it, right? But I think a really good way of thinking about it, especially if you can see this camera, is again, this is subjective, right? This is me. This is my interpretation, okay? Or what has worked for me. It's not my interpretation, it's what has worked for me, okay? And that is just letting your stick be in the middle of the drum, right? Maybe you got like some amount of inches. What is that, like 8 inches right there? No, it's probably like 3 inches. And then you put your hand near the middle of the drum. You don't want to be all the way back here. That's dork. That's dorktastic. Listen to that stupid sound. That's dumb, okay? That's a dumb sound. You don't want that. So you want to move the stick out, right? Got plenty of space in the back here. And for me, for the most part, tip of the stick is on the drum. That's kind of our anchor point. Sometimes it takes a second, right, to find that sweet spot. But that's it, right? We got that balance of enough stick off of the drum. We got our butt going here. And all we're doing is we're just holding the stick like we would if we were playing like this, right? We're just letting our fingers fan out, resting our palm. There you go. We got that sound. You can do it this way as well. I do this a lot. But as you can tell, it's not as powerful, right? But sometimes it's just easier. For those of you who play traditional, that's a much easier transition, right? I don't play traditional, so sometimes I just lazy out and do this. But same concept, right? But it's nice to have that extra weight at the end, get that higher pitched sound. I've also, had teachers say it's like, oh yeah, you should aim for playing over a lug as well, as opposed to like not. Very subtle difference again, right? Not a huge discrepancy. Depends. But you can also kind of play around with that kind of thing, right? Get some different tones. Obviously, I play a lot of bossa nova with this, so that's part of it, right? And anyone who refers to bossa nova as elevator music, that's a sure sign that they're not experienced. So I would be wary of those types of people, okay? Be careful of them. All right, anyway, so those are the ways that we can hit the drum, right? I don't really recommend rim shots for toms. I don't feel it really needs it. Toms have a lot of tone on their own, right? And, experiment with it though. Don't say never, right? But that's probably not as good a sound as hitting right in the middle, right? But again, it's all about style. Whatever style you're playing, whatever style you're going for, all that kind of stuff is important, right? And that should inform your decision of how you hit the drum. But I would experiment with hitting all those different ways, right? We got a lot of different ways to hit the drum. So we should explore those, And feel free, let me know in the comments other ways maybe you hit the drum, right? Because we're all looking for new sounds all the time, right? New inventive ways to play. So share the wealth. Tell me what you got, okay? It's gonna be important stuff. All right, so there you have it. This next segment, very important for body mechanics, okay? So this is something that I love teaching my students, but again, just like bass drum fluency, lesson 1, go check it out. Nobody cares, but it's one of the most important things, okay? And that is how we sit at the drum set, okay? So first thing is we need to sit so that we are at a comfortable distance, and this may be, you know, like when we first adjust from what we're used to, it may not be comfortable. So we got to figure things out, right? So we sit down, and what we want to make sure is when we have our hands in neutral position, they're meeting over the center of the snare drum, okay? So and what I mean by that, and you can see by this little side camera, if we're too close, our elbows are coming back, right? You know what this does? Causes tension in our shoulders. Why do we have that tension? We don't need it. Don't do it. So we got to make sure we're sitting at the drum set. First thing, posture, right? Once we find that distance, we have the posture. We need our shoulders back. We're sitting up straight, right? Our arms are just hanging. They're just hanging from our shoulders, right? And then what we do is we bring up our arms, just like this. We don't do this. We're not, you know, pit stains? Do I have pit stains? You can't see. I'm not going to show it. So yeah, we bring up our arms, and look at this. Our hands are in neutral position. This is not a neutral position. This is not a neutral position. This is neutral, right? Call me a T-Rex, whatever, I don't care. This is how we relax while sitting up straight, okay? Check this out. Put the stick in the hand. Whoa, look at that. Our technique established. That's all it takes, right? We're in neutral position, we're relaxed. That's our default setting. We're relaxed. So we sit up, bring up our arms from our elbows, our sticks meet in the middle, right? There's no none of this. We're not making our tendons go crazy to get all that. No, we're just neutral position, and look at that, sticks meet in the middle. If we're crossing because we're in neutral position, guess what? We're human beings, we can pivot like this. I've gone over this in another video, but this is in depth. We are in depth right now, going deep on the tech. So now we can do this, look at that. We're like, oh, set up, oh, I should do this. No, don't do that. Relax your hands, pivot out. Now you're here. It's not like you're like this, right? That's bizarre. You're not this. Don't do that, don't be dumb. So, sit up, neutral, there you go. Feet-wise, have your heels elevated a little bit, right? We want to have that balance. We want to have that control of our body. We don't want to be hitting the bass drum or opening the hi-hat and have our whole body do this. That's insane, right? We're going to be tense all throughout our body if we do that. So, we have our heels up a little bit. We're balanced. I can do that with my left foot. Can do that with my right foot. Can do whatever with my feet, right? And I'm not rocking back and forth. We don't want that. That is gonna screw us up. It's gonna make us tense. We're gonna sound tense. Gotta chill out, gotta relax, okay? So that's how we wanna set up, right? So then we should build our drum set around that, right? So yeah, my foot is in the proper position on the pedals that I prefer, which I've gone over in another video. If you wanna check that out, go check that out. So that's how we get our foot technique set up. Our hands are in the right position. Hi-hat, easy access, right? And yeah, you can play thumb up when you get up here or whatever. That's fine. It's whatever's comfortable, but as long as it doesn't get in your way. But it's just that simple, right? We're not oh, we're not doing this. We're not doing anything that causes tension. It's just, we're relaxed. China. Okay, so now we set up the tom. Easy reach, right? It's not like I'm going way out, right? We also don't want our floor tom to be behind us. Sometimes we have two floor toms, which is very cool. And that's obviously, yeah, we're gonna have to turn a little bit, right? But our primary floor tom should be kind of out in front of us. We don't want to be like way over here just to do just a simple fill, right? So snare drum, floor tom, right? Not a lot of movement to get there. And then ride cymbal, I like it instead of tom 2 or whatever, the second rack tom. But to each his own. You just want to set it up so it's just an easy reach, right? Everything should be within reach. You don't want crashes too close, that's obnoxious, but you also don't want to be where you're just like barely touching it, right? So yeah, all that distance you want to build from this main position, okay? That's going to help a lot. And that's really only, you know, if you want to go big time. Do you?